For more fantastic sport and music on Switchbox TV, just subscribe free now. Just like and click the bell. Another episode, very early morning episode. John Richardson, Charlie McCann. Rico, what tier are you in? Do you know yet? I'm a bit confused. I haven't got a clue what I'm in.
I'm in Ken Dodd's Tears for Souvenirs. No, tier 2 here in sunny Cheshire, which means that 2,000 people could go to football matches, if you can find one.
I wonder what tier Gibraltar is. What tier are you in, Charlie?
We're still fine for now, but social distancing. But we have had in the last fortnight 5 fatalities. The first fatalities, which is sort of come as a bit of a shock. But every single person, 4 of them were over 90 years of age, and the 5th did have was a 46-year-old man who had severe underlying health problems. But it still is a bit of a shock and a bit of a wake-up to everybody in Gibraltar. But masks continually worn. I wear a mask just walking down the street, let alone going into shops. But everything, everywhere is open, including the pubs, which I regularly tell my my brothers, etc., and friends back in the UK that I'm just going. I missed that goal because I was just on the way for a pint, and they, well, what's a pint? What's a pub? And things like that. But yeah. But I'm afraid to say fatality is one of the stories of the week.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing world we live in. Rico, I've got to start with Diego Maradona. I mean, without question, one of the greatest footballers. And I mean, I think in the end, loved by English fans. Would that be fair?
Not really, no. I certainly didn't love him. I admired him. I respected him as a footballer, but as a human being, he's not really, on my list of greats. I mean, everybody knows he was a flawed genius, wasn't he? He was fantastic. We know about 1986, Mexico, etc., the hand of God. I mean, I once spoke to Steve Ovett, the runner. And I said to him once, because drugs were rife at the time, in athletics. And I said to him, what would happen to you if you got the silver medal because you knew somebody had got the gold, but they cheated? And he said, well, that person's got to live. He's standing on the podium. He has to live with his conscience. So that's very humble of him to say things like that. And I think Diego Maradona, how did he live with that conscience? Did he have a conscience? I don't think he did. His blatant cheating. And for me, it goes down in the sort of Ben Johnson, type of sportsman, basically a cheat. But as a footballer, fantastic skills. But then, of course, he gets into the wrong company in Naples, Napoli. He gets taken over by the mafia there. So it's really been a hard life for him at times. So what I'm saying is he's not in my top 10 of sportsmen. I admire him as his skills and everything, but no sort of wailing of tears from me, I'm afraid. I mean, obviously, you don't want the bloke, you feel sorry for him, what's happened with his family, but as a sportsman, not for me, sorry.
Charlie, what about you?
An extraordinary sort of talent and an extraordinary sort of life, but he's a genius, exactly is how I would put it. And forget the hand of God, of course. He did have. Correct me if I'm wrong here, John, because this is. But did he not get suspended for a long period with?
He got suspended for 15 months, Charlie.
Yeah. So sorry, it's. But so it's interesting you talk about Ben Johnson with the sort of cheaters in the hand of God, but he also was he also was a flawed genius in that way as well. But forget the England game. I'll always remember, I think, the semi-final when he carried a very ordinary Argentina team and scored 2 goals. I think I've got it in my head, it was against Belgium or something like that. It was 2-0, and they were 2 great World Cup goals. Absolutely extraordinary. One of the greatest. He won the title almost single-handed for Napoli as well, and remarkable footballer. But again, I wouldn't mourn him like I would mourn the passing of Muhammad Ali, say, or indeed Pele. I think, Pele played, it's interesting, of course, we're talking about a 6-year-old man who played in the 86, but of course, Pele, who's, did I say it, still alive and played in 58, 62. Sorry, missed 62, didn't he, through injury, I think. 66 in England, where, of course, he got kicked out of it through injury, and then, of course, his 1970. But a remarkable footballer, Diego Maradona. But, John, I thought you summed it up perfectly. A flawed genius for me, too.
Rico, back down to brass tacks, as it were. I think the whole of the footballing world will be glued to Crystal Palace against Newcastle, expecting goals and thrills. And I have to smile that Steve Bruce has been compared to Donald Trump with fake news this week, which I did have to laugh about.
I'll tell you what, I read that piece by Brian Reed in the Mirror. It was an excellent piece. As you know, I'm a huge Steve Bruce fan, but I couldn't argue against that piece. It was perfect. I'm afraid that Brucey has got to, lift up his visage, smell the coffee, if you like, because he's got to get real. Because this Newcastle team at the moment is one of the most boring teams I've ever seen in my life. It is. I mean, Charlie, goes on about Everton, but Newcastle on a different level for boredom. I've watched the last 4 or 5 games. They've not done attack. I mean, they have 5 at the back. They try and pack the midfield. It's awful to watch. I mean, football's got to be an entertainment. I know it's a results business, but what's the point? I even felt, when they drew against Wolves, normally I'd be jumping up and down and thinking, oh, but they didn't deserve it. And you just feel, Brucey, come on, get rid of this back 5, have a go, do 4-3-3. If you lose, okay, you've had a go. Newcastle fans will not accept that their side does not attack. They will not accept. It's in their DNA. They were the entertainers under Kevin Keegan. Not going to go back to that, but at least have a go. Because I tell you what, Steve is very lucky there's no fans in grounds at the moment, because he'd be hounded out of St. James's Park at the moment. So come on, Brucey, get a grip, have a go tonight against Crystal Palace. Otherwise, I think in a few weeks' time, he might not be the manager, because fan power in the end will win.
Sorry, go on, Charlie.
No Wilfried Zaha through coronavirus. Massive loss again for Crystal Palace tonight. John, correct me if I'm wrong as well. I hark on about this thing, which is sort of an American idea about players playing for a contract, and then once they've got a long-term contract. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alan Saint-Maximin, we wax lyrical about him. We're wrong to do that, We are wrong to do that. He hasn't broken sweat.
Charlie
since his last game.
Spot on, Charlie. Couldn't agree more. I've loved watching him last season and the beginning of this season. But you're right, since that contract, he's done nothing.
Alan Shearer came out and said the same thing. He hasn't broken sweat. I think that's Charlie's air conditioning men on the bell there, hasn't it? Just go.
It is.
He's got to open the door.
Well, we've got the boiler man in here.
There's a very large unit just arrived, and the guys are turning left now as we speak. This is a live podcast, gentlemen. Yeah.
The ultimate pro. My air conditioning's gone up the spout, but I'm still talking about Wilfried Zaha. Brilliant.
Yes, but at least we're talking about Wilfried Zaha. Yeah. Anyway,
there's always a lot of hot air coming from Gibraltar.
Yes. You had noticed, John. Yeah.
It's one of the things we won't be saying here. I wonder how my air conditioning is. Let's turn it up a bit. It's too hot. Listen, Rico's at Everton against Leeds, fellas. Luca Dean out for a considerable amount of time. So we hear, Charlie, it's a huge blow.
Yeah, massive blow as well. And Everton, it was interesting. It was first reported in French in France, in a French newspaper or online, and they reported it first, which was, I think, slightly surprising. Going to have surgery on Monday, and haven't put a timescale. Whether Nkunku will get more time, I don't know. That would be interesting to see whether Fabian Delph maybe fits in at left back. I think there'll be goals in this game. I really do. I thought Leeds played excellently against a very, very below par Arsenal side and very underwhelming Arsenal. But they should have won, of course. We all know that. Pepe, forget Pepe's the red card. That didn't really have a major influence on the game. I think there'll be goals in this. I'd be very surprised if Everton, of course, we still have only kept one clean sheet, and that was at Tottenham, surprisingly. Tottenham, top of the league as well, unbelievable. And again, I enjoyed some of their football last night as well, almost the second team. What a game that will be. But Everton Leeds, I think there'll be plenty of goals in that one. And, as a sort of born pessimist, I do think Leeds will bounce back.
Rico, it's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, I was talking about Newcastle earlier, but Leeds have been a breath of fresh air for the Premier League. I just like watching them. I've seen a couple of them live. I saw that 4-3 against Fulham. They're just fantastic to watch. People say, oh, they're a bit naive, but so what? They're going for it. It does remind me a little bit of when Newcastle did go into the Premier League under Keegan in the first season, third, and they took the division by storm. And I think Leeds are doing the same now. Okay, you look at the league table and say they should be doing better, but I don't think they're in any danger of going down. So they're having a go. They're good to watch. Bielsa is, he divides opinions, isn't he? He's just been named one of the top 5 coaches, in the country, in the world. Sorry, a lot of people have looked at that, but he has definitely got something. He's definitely got something, and so many managers like Pep Guardiola, etc., look upon him as a mentor. So yeah, as I say, I think Leeds have been a breath of fresh air, and I'm looking forward to covering the game.
Chelsea Spurs, Charlie. I mean, we've talked about our Spurs title contenders, our Chelsea title contenders. Will this game go a long way to telling us a bit more?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. And again, we've been critical of Mourinho and who his best midfield is now. I think we've now established that it's Moussa Sissoko and Højbjerg. But I was slightly surprised when Højbjerg came on. He was obviously that it was 2-0 or 3-0, and Mourinho wasn't happy with something against Rudiger last night. But yeah, this is a big game. It's a big game for both sides. If there is a winner in this game, I think they will obviously become third favourites for the title on their own. But with the flaws that are at Manchester City and, just little creaks, and Liverpool were sensational against Leicester, but Leicester never turned up at Anfield. But they weren't good, Liverpool. They were sensational against Leicester. And forget that midweek game. They were flattered to win 5-0 in Atalanta, and Atalanta are a good team. But really looking forward to that game. Don't think there'll be many goals in it, and I fancy a draw for what it's worth, 1-1.
We will be asking the air conditioning men for their predictions a little later on. Rico, what? It's one of the most.
Sergio and Albert are big on. I've got big. No, they're big. One's a Manchester United fan anyway. I know that.
Ask him to put his hammer down for a few minutes.
My Spanish is about as good as Sergio's English. I'm afraid.
I have a hammer.
Trini Lopez, if I had a hammer.
Yeah, it was.
Very good. Yeah. Shall I bring in my boiler man?
Rob, can you and John continue it? I think it's best if I this one.
Rico, Chelsea and Spurs. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Charlie summed it up well before the hammer. Yeah, it is a big game. It is a big test for both of them. I must admit, we've said on this before that we've got to make them, both of them, title contenders. So what they're made of. Very impressed with the way that Frank Lampard has knit. I mean, so many signings. You think, well, they're never all going to gel so quickly, but they have. Standing performances. Timo Werner, I know it was a horrible, wasn't it, midweek, but I think he's in the way he took on the Newcastle back 10 last week was sensational. It's like being in a pop concert. It comes in your ears. Yeah, it's gonna be a tremendous game. I'm also a little perplexed sometimes with Gareth Bale at the moment. He's not firing on all cylinders. He needs to come to the party. But yeah, gonna be a good game. Very hard to concentrate here.
Yes, you're doing brilliantly. We'll do a shorter version this week, I think, to let the lads get on. What else was looking at? Charlie, Manchester City still aren't favourites, are they?
No, Liverpool are favourites now. Liverpool have gone around about 6-4 favourites. City is still second in. Anyway, guys, I'm going to quit.
Tell him to have a siesta.
Yeah, Charlie, thanks a lot. We'll speak to you next week.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Charlie.
Oh dear me, absolute quality.
Can't turn it off.
Crap.
I mean,
Get the guy to use his hammer. He'll do it.
yeah, smash it up. Yeah. Obviously, don't do as they're told there, do they?
Oh, funny. Hey, yeah, any chance of just being quiet, lads, while I'm doing this? Is he gone?
No, I'm trying to go.
Hey,
Comedy
Oh, it's
gold.
still on.
our subscribers would be turning off in their drone.
If I'd have known.
Comedy gold.
The guys are going now.
That's a quick job.
See you in a minute, Sergio.
Carry on regardless.
Sure. Can we edit this and start again for a minute?
No, we can edit it. Don't worry about it. But have they gone? I don't want to edit.
They're coming back in 15 minutes.
Oh, we got 15 minutes then.
Yeah.
Come on, then. Keep going.
Oh. There you go. Okay. What was I saying? City aren't favourites. Where are we, Rico? Where are we with Manchester City?
I've said all season they're not firing, are they? They're playing some nice football as usual, but they're not scoring goals. Pep Guardiola was asked that question in midweek and he didn't know the answer. So if he hasn't got the answer, I haven't got the answer. I mean, it's really largely the same personnel. They're good to watch. They're still attacking, still creating chances, but they're not scoring. All right, Sergio Aguero isn't in the team, but as Charlie says, he's not a regular now. Getting on, what is he, 33? Jesus has done okay. Ferran Torres has looked a real player, but I don't know. One day they will click, but I'm afraid at the moment they're behind the ball game.
Dan James and Theo Walcott on the score sheet this week, Charlie.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd mention that. That's a tough. Where we are with Manchester City, where are we with Manchester United? Ollie van der Beek made an impression in the Champions League in the week. Is it a case of Ollie trying to find his best team?
Oh, very, very much so. I think he's still trying to get the balance. He's trying to get. I think he's trying to get Pogba in because he knows that in an ideal world, maybe Fred and McTominay is not quite as creative as he'd like, certainly in home games. But, it's not as if Pogba's only had one or two chances.
Is he still there, is he? Still there, Charlie? Is Pogba still there? I thought he...
I believe so. Whether he'll still be there, I don't think he'll go in January, but I do think he'll go in. I think Bruno Fernandes again. He had he was almost symptomatic. I think when they were having a bad spot, he had, of course, I think about a 7 or 8 game when he never made a contribution as in a goal or an assist. And but he's come back to his best. Rashford's not scoring goals. Martial isn't particularly scoring goals. He's not scoring goals. Greenwood at the start of the season, I thought we all thought they played for a 4-3-3 with Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood. Well, that's not That's not happened so far this season. Did they really need Cavani? Question mark. I don't know, but Manchester United are not candidates not in the title race, in my opinion. Absolutely not. They never were. They were top 4 candidates, but I don't think that they are. I think the top 4 now picks itself in what order will come, but it's certainly Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Spurs for me.
Rick, I just wonder in the week. I mean, they've been Van der Beek. They've been asking the fans, why is he not playing? They spent what, £40 million on him, 30 odd million pound. I just wonder if he stumbled because he played him a bit deeper. It allowed Fernandes total sort of freedom behind the strikers. I wonder if Ollie's maybe stumbled on something there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about him. He is a decent player, and I think he will, earn himself a regular starting spot shortly. He's been a bit unlucky at times not coming into the side, but you have got to build that midfield around Bruno Fernandes because he is, is the real deal. I think he's a top player. He's a leader. Been very impressed with his leadership qualities. He doesn't suffer fools, does he? As some of his teammates have found out. He's a winner. He's got that sort of Roy Keane attitude, come on, lads, we've got to do better than this. He's not afraid to say things in the dressing room. He's the main man in the midfield. I've been a little bit surprised with Fred. I'd written him off, but he's had a decent season. But in answer to your question about Van der Beek, he will get in the side, and I think he will become a main member of that midfield in months to come.
How big a game is Arsenal-Wolves for Arsenal, Charlie?
Well, every game, Arsenal are a team under close scrutiny. They seem to waltz. They seem to do very well in the Europa League. I must say, when they won at Old Trafford, I thought that was a good Arsenal side. I thought it was a good Arsenal performance. Again, for Alan Saint-Maximin, read Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's just not. If we're saying other people aren't scoring goals, Aubameyang, I think, got the penalty at Old Trafford. But apart from that, but they were very poor. They were very poor at Ellen Road, and that was worrying for me. It really was. I know they got turned over by Leicester, but I thought that was almost a one-off, and I'd be more concerned with the performance at Ellen Road. So in answer to your question, it is a massive game. It is a massive game against a team who don't score many goals. But everyone seems to, Leeds apart, who could have scored 10, everyone seems to score it against Arsenal these days in the Premier League. Sorry, that's not fair because Manchester United didn't. But again, Man United certainly had their opportunities as well in Warsaw. I thought that was a good game. And I've been really surprised with Arsenal. Again, today, they will turn around and say they haven't got Partey and they were going to build their midfield around him, and they've had to, put Xhaka back in, where I think he was going to be somebody who was only going to be sort of a Europa League player. But again, there are some people who say that Arteta's record is very, very ordinary, and it isn't. But of course, he's bought himself more than a bit of time because, of course, of his exploits in the cup competitions.
We know you're not the biggest Pep fan, Rico. You've had a bit of a go at Arteta as well this season.
Yeah, well, Mikel Arteta's record is worse than Unai Emery's. So there you go. But of course, the London lovies, my colleagues love him. Like they all love Pep. So he'll be safe. But no, in fairness to him, I don't know. I think the jury's out. Let's see what he does this season. I think it's a very important season for him. I think they're a better side than Emery's side, but I'll tell you what, they're a million miles away from Arsene Wenger's sides, and Arsenal was hounded out of Arsenal in the end. But Emery, he was also hounded out. But good old Mikel's there. He's doing this, he's doing that. Son of Pope Pep. So let the London lovies get on with it, and let's watch the results with interest.
It's a strange Premier League in the sense that at the top it's fascinating. I just wonder, I mean, so many seasons, the real interest towards the sharp end of the season has been the relegation battle. I'm looking at Brighton with 9 points. Burnley, then a gap, 4-point gap to Burnley, or fourth bottom. You've got Fulham on 4, West Brom 3, Sheffield United 1. Can either of you see Fulham, West Brom, or Sheffield United escaping?
Yeah, Sheffield United won't go down. At this moment in time, I think Newcastle United are the team who are under severest threat. But I do think, again, it might be, good-natured optimism on behalf because it's a manager I like. But no, I think Sheffield United will do enough, and I think they'll get out of it. I know they didn't finish last season, so let's not just say it's this season because they finished last season poorly. But I just do think there's still something about them that they will have enough to get to come out. But of course, it's got to happen sooner rather than later. It really has. But no, I think Newcastle are under threat. I'm still not convinced about maybe Crystal Palace, despite where they are in the table. I do think Fulham and West Brom will eventually go down as well. But again, Fulham probably deserved a draw against a terrific Everton performance in the first half. But for every bit as good as they were at Craven Cottage in the first 45 minutes, they were appalling in the second half. Absolutely, and forget missing the penalty. Fulham deserved a draw I thought, in that game, in your archetypal game of two halves.
West Brom, Sheffield United at the weekend.
Yes.
Recco, can you see those bottom three escaping?
I agree with Charlie. I think Sheffield United should escape, providing they don't lose their nerve and sack Chris Wilder. Because, like it or not,
possibility?
Sorry?
Is that a possibility?
Of course it is. Claudio Ranieri got sacked by Leicester. Anything can happen. And I know, the owners there, they don't want to go into the Championship. Now, I think all three of us would agree that Chris Wilder is a top manager and they should stay with him. But I tell you what, if he keeps losing more games, he will be under severe pressure. Now, I think, like Charlie, they're good enough to escape. They need to score goals. They play, again, I've seen a lot of them. They play good football, but they haven't finished. I mean, poor old Ollie McBurney, no, he tries his heart out. It's not happening for him. Ryan Brewster, I thought that was a surprise signing. 24 million. A lot of it's expected of him, probably far too much. So they've got to get goals from somewhere. Providing those goals come, yes, they'll be safe, and hopefully they will stick with Chris Wilder. I agree with Charlie. The worst team in the Premier League at the moment, they're shocking. They're shocking. And, unless they pull something out, they're going to be right in that relegation scrap. And, you have to face facts that on form, they're probably the poorest side in the Premier League at the moment.
Listen, boys, it's been a great effort this morning. I really appreciate it. I hope the air conditioning goes well. I hope the boiler man goes well. I'll leave you with this. The last time Leeds beat Everton in the league was August 1990. Gary Speed was on the score sheet. They won 3-2. And Chris Kamara came on as substitute for Leeds United. Could there be a repeat? Fellas,
unbelievable.
We'll do it.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
Rob.
See you, fellas.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.